Qur'an and my Sunnah. And other people have hadith that are considered sahih too. That says, you follow the Qur'an in my itriti. That means family, itriti, family, Ahlul Bayt. And both groups got that in their hadith. They both say this. A lot of people. It's not that that's not important. But how can you go through the whole Quran and hadith and it tells you over and over again, it's just extraordinary, loving and kind to the believers. And you cover and conceal the falsehood of your believers. That's in Quran and hadith. Okay. Suppose you got someone that does 1,000,000,000% of something you don't like, right? And you got the whole other 99.9%. Fine. Or they fulfill all the criterions. And you just don't happen to like Shias, Sufis, all of, in fact, you can't hardly find nobody that you like. And if you get an imam, he ain't gonna be the imam long. You know why? Because they're gonna get rid of him. He's not stiff enough. That happened with Jamal Zaragoza. Jamal Zaragoza is stiff. That boy is stiff. Jamal Zaragoza, I'm telling you, remember I was telling you, I met him in Lombok in 1978. Yes. And he agreed, he's the one that pointed out in the commentary about the evolution of fasting. We just good friends. Hey, man. And finally, he flipped to something. And I gave him a card about that had Masjid in D.C., this one was over there, Masjid in Oakland on the card, and the Masjid in Philadelphia. At that time, all of a sudden all I heard was fitna from Philadelphia. Wasn't nobody wanted to come by nothing, because he had put the word out. We was in a program in Atlanta somewhere. And I gave him the card. And by that time, he was rolling his eyes at me, but I said, oh, don't you worry. So he was over there, maybe several years. We had an Arabic Islamic studies program. They call it the Mahad. I don't know if it's still out there. The Mahad, it's Arabic studies. Okay. Well, it was out there on Highland. So it was a good class. And they was starting to hate me. Because I was talking about hadith and Tafsir Qur'an, a commentary on the Qur'an. They're good. And they were saying the Qur'an is by itself. This Quranic Arabic teacher. And I said, no, man, no. This is not just the Qur'an. Those who follow Allah and His Messenger, that's in the Qur'an. They said that means that you got to follow basically the Qur'an is up. I said, man, that's Qur'an, that's Tafsir Qur'an, all of that is good. And that's hadith. I said, the hadith complements the Qur'an. You technically got to have the hadith to go with it. No, you don't have to, but I mean, if you want to just... So anyway, later on in our class with Jamal Zaragoza, boy, Saudi TV what they was doing over here. And Jamal Zaragoza let the TV cameras, he working for them, so he kind of left them in, you can't tell them. In fact, he was hesitating all the time. Harajum, he was hesitating all the time. I could tell the guy he was referring to, he would look over and almost to say, am I right on that? You know, Arab or Saudi. So anyway, shoot, they let, when he let that TV in, I guess they got something about showing pictures or something. Shoot, them solid, I mean, them people. The next day in class, they was rolling, they wasn't even paying no attention to Zaragoza. They was mad at it. Half of them wouldn't even talk to him, the other half was rolling their eyes. And then the Imam here, I ain't gonna call his name, he passed away a few years back. He was the Imam over there, they borrowed, I don't know whether it was 4,000. I think he owed me $4,000, tell the truth, and oil and stuff like that. And then he didn't have to pay me back because I wasn't a non-believer, but I associated with some of the people they didn't like. You know. And he didn't have to pay me back. They was doing the same thing they did to one of my friends, a book dealer in New York. They have a translation of Qur'an. Big D, she had a translation of Qur'an. So now I got it right. Anyway, that one was a wonderful, it had gold leaf on it and everything, and that on the page, oh man, he spent $1 zillion on that boy. He even got him printed on his credit card in England. All the book dealers got some from him on credit. They didn't pay him back, almost went broke. Because technically he is a Shia, but I mean, he started off selling Yusuf Ali and all of that, so he sells all that stuff. But anyway, what I'm talking about is we have to try to be good and kind to people and not get stuck on this idiotified stuff like, if the preponderance of evidence say, be kind and good, then that means you can't walk by me frowning up, because there's other hadith that say, if you can't give me no money, smile at me, right? Give me a smile. They frown up. There's nowhere in the Quran but a hadith that says when you meet a believer, put on your frown and roll your eyes. It don't say none of that. But the people adopt them customs because of maybe the clique that they're associated with. That's not the real point. The point I want to make about this is on two cases. One is to influence the direction of change. I mentioned this group of people throw the roof down on them and do all kind of stuff because we wouldn't mention that here because we're in America. We'll mention it as time go by, but we wouldn't mention it first. Why? Because if you get on a TV program, they're going to study you, and the first thing they're going to ask you is about what's the Muslim view on such and such. It's a trap. It's stupid. If they ask me that question, I'm going to go right over to like all them politicians do. I'm going to focus on what we about, what we want to do. We want to influence the direction of change. Why? Because you bring up that issue. Who has more power in the media? These people or the Negroes? If you want to be loved now, you have to be almost gender neutral. You got to be a lot of stuff. Anyway, we don't even want to get into it. But what I'm telling you is, there's hadith to say, if you, in the Quran, it says that they want you to not mention everything that's mentioned. If you hold back some of the things, we'll be with you. Do you want to know? Okay. Remember, in general, we got two main focuses. In the Islamic world, we want Islam light. In other words, this would be in vogue, but on a lighter level in the Islamic society. You know, in fact, you know in Iran, I was looking at TV one day and they showed this blonde-haired lady. This lady then, but the person was born with different organs. So in Iran, if you have that, they'll give you a free operation. They look you up free. Over here, they charge you. Right? Because it was not their fault or anything. They never talk about that. They just talk about the liberal stuff, you know. I mean, the tough stuff. I saw with my own eyes when I was in Iran. In the old days, they was hanging people on the cranes. They'd have a crane up there. Yeah, and there was two boys in their 20s. One had killed the other. They was friends. They stabbed her. You know where they get in an argument? And they was getting ready to hang that boy. And his father, you know, the one that was killed, knew he was friends. He said, let the boy down. The boys arguing. You can't do that here. If they talk about killing you, the death row, you been there for 50 years, you be ready to die before, even if you get a reprieve. You're going to be on death row. They get ready to hang him. His father walks right up. The father, the son that was killed. They knew each other all their life. They had an argument, something stupid. And it was a fit of, he said, let him down. He didn't even charge him no money, the other parent or nothing. You know? The people only talk about the dumb stuff about us. You know, we read about it, I'm going off, but I'll get back on track. You read about inheritance. Oh, the boy gets twice as much as the girl. It's true. It's actually true. But the girl gets to keep all her money, and the boy got to throw his in the pot with the whole family. Right? They don't say that. They don't say that. They don't say, well, when Allah set up a division, He set up a division that is consummate with nature. If Islam has a marriage like this and a marriage like that, then this is to help stabilize everything. And look, it's perfect balance. They don't say that. Okay, but anyway, let me get back to Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas now. So, let me see. This made the Ansari young man angry. It's with a jawbone of a camel caused a severe injury on his head. Sayyidina Sa'd came to the Holy Prophet ﷺ and complained against the Ansari young man. At that time, the Holy Prophet ﷺ raised his hands in prayer and said, that is, O Allah, give us a clear, conclusive guidance in the matter of wine. Thereupon the third verse regarding wine, that the surah in Al-Ma'idah was revealed with the details declaring wine to be absolutely unlawful. As the verse follows, O you believe wine and gambling and stone altars and drawing of lots with arrows are only an abomination, a work of Satan, so shun it, that haply you may be prospered. that you may prosper, gradual forbearance of wine. I won't read all the other, but it's good to have a lot of Tafsir, because you get, there's a little few tidbits in all of them. This is my Rufu Qur'an. It's 8 volumes. The point is this: we have a big mission to influence the direction of change. Also, as Muslims, the goal is Islam, and we want to focus on those goals. In order to do this, we have to have a certain balance. And this is a long-range struggle. And you know, we started off the struggle always calling it a long-range struggle. It was never a short range. You know, it was, what do we call it? Protracted, way out there. In order to do that, it has to become a habit almost, that it's something that you do. And when those habits are good and get you to your goal, you keep them. And then there comes another time for a quantum leap. You have to leap into a whole new, different orbit. When we leaped into the past orbit, the Quran, these ayats that I'm talking about, or this Tafsir I'm reading about, prepared us for that. It prepared us for everybody ain't gonna listen to you. The road to truth may be a lonely road. You may be just traveling by yourself or a few people. That's the way it goes. It's not new, it's been like that all the time. You can sit and talk till your mouth turns white, but people may not pay no attention. Or they may become semi-hypocritical, or they can just sit there and watch. They may monitor, they may take notes, they do whatever they want. So the Quran prepares you. This is not new. It's always been like this. And it's your job to get up every morning and do your part and go to bed with the idea that I've contributed something today. I did my part. It don't make no difference what the people did. And then it tells you about the human nature and the signs. If this thing is on if anybody other than 10 people are watching it, that's good. And if they are, they have seen just in the last few years, the last 10 years, the last 30 years, the last clear signs that what we've talked about is reality. It's just too many signs. It's just redundant over and over and over again. Well, if all those signs are true, then why are the people and the systems? You ever send an email down to Texas to that guy, what's his name?
Yeah, Meeks. Yeah, I followed up some more.
Yeah, they don't pay no attention. We went over to our homeboy. We'll be going back over there again, maybe a couple before I go back to California, just to holler at him. Then when I go back, I may drive south, go down, and then go across to California and hit, what's the name, Meeks and them in Texas. I just stand out there with the loudspeaker and talk, you know, like we're going to be by myself. So yeah, good. You would ask yourself, what's happening? It's not, if that stuff is happening, which we see, and which we record, and which we talk about, And if anybody wanted to challenge it, they could. But it just reinforces each other over and over and over again, right? You have to be conditioned for that, because the human nature is, if you try something once, or twice, or 3 times, nobody's going to do something over and over and over again and make it habitual. Till they'll get tired, or they'll get sad, or something like that, right? So what Allah do in preparing you, He prepared you for longevity. All kind of stuff. At first, when you're younger, you running 10 miles a day, and sometime a half a marathon every day, and you running all up in the mountains, and then you say, hey, I'll be doing this a while, maybe I'll just cut it down a little bit. Why? Because if you run that distance all the time, eventually you're going to run your legs off of yourself. You know what I mean? So you plan for the distance. You set a pace. You know, when you run a marathon, you have to have your pace. You have to run your pace. If you run somebody else's pace, you're in trouble. Unless it's a slower pace. But when you run a marathon, people be running, and pretty soon you see people grouped together. You know why? Because that's the pace that they have. We was running a bump-to-bump run. One of the Sudanese brothers come by here and knock us over. Boy, they could run. They was built for it and everything. And they from that area over there, you know, where they all them runners in Kenya and Uganda, they run a billion miles. And that's where they would run. They would be running with me. I'd keep up with them because we was on the training run. We was running bump-to-bump run. That's from Sacramento from Davis to Sacramento. Bump-to-bump, AJ Bumps, restaurants, you go bump. We was getting close, we was in halfway. So I just asked Sudanese brother, I said, is this pace good for you? He said, alhamdulillah. He's just cruising along. So, well, I'll see you later, brother. This pace is, you know, because I could always run distance.